sometimes I may feel like I'm in the back burner,
Right.
but it's not really that. It's we're evolving as humans, which is what you're supposed to do.
Right.
So yeah, you're marrying the unknown, and you know, again, like, how do men deal with that? How do women deal with that? So it's never a thing where it's just a one script, one blueprint. You're continuously trying to figure things out, communication, and I want to have real conversations about how people deal with these things.
Yeah.
All right. Welcome to Inside the Mind, episode 2. We had a live one the first one, and we're going to have a live one again. I got a very special guest today, man. I actually met my guy at my pro debut. He plays higher than me, but we ain't going to talk about that.
No, I didn't.
Word.
I didn't.
I gotta look at it.
No, we'll get into that.
This show, man. He's had a very illustrious career so far, man. Only 2 regional shows, and then he turned pro at his first national show, which was the USA's in 2020. My man won his class. Again, he did his pro debut at the San Diego Tournament of Champions, where I did. And then following that, he had 2 back-to-back second-place finishes. One of those you should have got. I'm going to let you get into that yourself. But none other than my guy, Wilfred Harris, a.k.a. Thrill Will. How you doing, buddy?
Man, I'm good, bro. Appreciate you for having me on your podcast, man. I love to see it, man. We need to see more podcasts, man. We need to in every facet, right? Everybody should have a sanctuary where they get to talk about what they do in their day-to-day, whatever it is, whether it's sports, bodybuilding, fashion, you know. So it's a good outlet, man. So keep going, bro.
I agree, man. This is the reason why I did it, to get people on here to kind of talk what they go through. Like, we be in the grind so much, man, to where we don't necessarily have an outlet when we in that grind.
Yeah,
so
facts.
This is the reason why I wanted to create it, man. But in another world, how are you doing mentally?
I'm good, bro. I'm good. You know, I took a little bit of an off season, and it ended up being a longer off season than I wanted to take. You know, I wouldn't say quite health reasons, but I just had to pivot and make certain decisions for longevity, right? So for me, it was about making those conscious decisions early, and then so that when we attack it in 2024, we full throttle, because the goal is always to do more than you've done the last time you stood out. So, you know, I did 3 competitions in 22. I'm like, well, it's 2. I done sat down in 23, so I got to do at least 4 in 24, you know, God willing. So we'll see how everything goes.
I hear you. You sound like me, because I'm ready to run that gauntlet, man. I only did 1, and then I sat down. I think I put a lot of pressure on me in that 1, because I was my daughter's birthday. I just wanted to get my pro debut out the way, and then I seen the list, and I was like, man, I got to do good, which, you know, if I'm holding myself to the standard that I do, I didn't do too good. But, I mean, it was a pro debut, and, you know, you call it what it is. But I was, you know, a little bit in my feelings about it, and it was only due to me, like the expectations and the pressures that I put on myself. But you coming off 2 back-to-back second-place finishes, is there any pressure you're putting on yourself coming into next year?
You know, honestly, I'm just rolling with it, because the way I see it is it's all timing, and no matter who you are and how you operate, especially, I would have to say, especially if you're a guy that's been doing this for 5 years or less, per se, as opposed to guys that have started, you know, doing bodybuilding, and more specifically men's physique, when men's physique started. Like, a lot of these guys that have been out here, and we call them the who's who, they've been doing it for a decade, around the time the division started. So for me, I think my no pressure at all. I think more so it's just slowing down in the prep, because when I train and when I'm on prep, like, I'm so locked in and I'm so isolated. Like, it's just bodybuilding, right? And then we know we got everything else that life goes. You know, we still got, you know, I'm still a blue collar. I got my own career and kids in sports, but yeah, just the thing is just to stay focused and slow down and enjoy those days. And, you know, we have good and bad days on preps, but kind of slowing down on prep and adding to that, showing more of who I am and what I do on prep. Because, like I said, I be so locked in, and then it'd be boom. Oh, who's who's this guy? And then you get on stage and they're like, some of them know because it's some that have met me, you know, because I'm in California, but a lot of people still don't know to this day, like who I really am and what am I about? You know what I'm saying? So that's the goal next year, show my face a little bit more. And that's exactly what, you know, Tyler Mannion told me, just keep showing up. And that's the same thing Sandy said, you know, keep pushing a little more and keep showing up. So that's pretty much it on that.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about who you are. Start from the beginning, like where you from and what necessarily got you into the sport of bodybuilding.
I'm from Stockton, California. So some people may know, may not know, you know.
I know.
I know you know, because we both in Cali, and you know, Stockton gets its rap just like you know
Uh-huh.
some of the SoCal and Bay City. So we're in between Stockton and the Bay. We're in NorCal. We're in Northern California, and so you know, born and raised out here, been out here all my life. I pretty much was an athlete growing up. You know, I hooped, made all league in high school and stuff like that. Stopped and I didn't want to play in college. Was like kind of bored with it. But I hooped most of my life, and then I ran track in high school. And I got into the weights around 17 years old. You know, being one of my high school buddies growing up, he was a triple star athlete, and I was in sports. We just picked up the weights one day and started doing. You remember the deck of cards? You know how you do the push-ups? And we
Yep.
would just run through the deck once or twice. And all of a sudden, we got weight training class our senior year, and we just at 16, 17 years old, that's when we picked it up, and we just never stopped. Like I was in the
That's
gym
what's
all
up.
the way up until now. I just turned 32 2 weeks ago, so I've been in the gym for about 15 years straight. Like even before bodybuilding, that started in 2019. Really just learning what this is like as far as doing it. So
Right.
that's kind of I got into it. I have a coach, local coach that I was with, Mr. Anisha at Strong Mind, Strong Body Fitness out in Stockton, California. And they were these two trainers. They're both IFBB pros, one in classic physique and
Okay.
Nisha, I believe she was in figure. And they were always in the gym and they seen me from a youngster. You know what I mean? I was in there at 21, 22, 23. So we would see each other at gyms around the city. And they asked me way back then, would I ever be interested in competing? And it's one of those things where you like compete in bodybuilding, you shrug your shoulder like, nah, I kind of know about it, but I don't think that that's my lane. And at the time, like I said, it was about 22, 23. And fast forward to 20, I was 22, 23. So fast forward to when I was about 28, 29, then I was like, you know what? I went over there to get in shape real quick, wanted to shed some pounds. Man, these people had me do a detox. I must have lost 15 pounds in about a week and a half. I'm like
Word.
after 2 weeks, I had abs. They like, oh no, you need to get into men's physique. So they were tripping off how
That's
fast my body had
crazy.
changed. And as far as leaning out, and then we just started building from the ground up. We stripped all of the little bit of that body fat, and we started building from the ground up with the nutrition added, not just training with no nutrition, because you can only do so much. If you're genetically gifted or a certain ethnicity, a certain age, yeah, you can look good. But if you're talking about bodybuilding, it's a whole nother world. So that's what got me
People don't
started.
know, man. They do not
hmm
know.
They
That's
gave me that
crazy.
kickstart. They gave me that boost of confidence to say, you know what, you can do it. And after my first regional show, like I won all my classes. I lost in the open overall, but I won the true novice overall, one true novice open. And I'm like, okay, well, that was like in my head, I'm like, that was kind of easy. So let's run it back. You know, that was at Spectrums way back in 2019. I did a show called Governor's Cup out in Sac. And then
Yeah.
I did another regional show up the street in the Bay Area. I did Muscle Sport Productions. They just did a merger with Spectrum, so I did one of their shows. And then I overall back in 2019 in San Jose. And you know the funny thing is, I was backstage, and I tell people this story. I met one person, and you're gonna know who I'm talking about. So I was backstage, and people when I came out of my sweater, people was looking at me. They thought I was a pro in 2019. That
Hmm.
show I remember it was Ant Woods with Cuts, and I think it's Jason Lee, Joe Manji, and I think he's Team
Uh-huh.
Zero Gravity, which I actually met him at my first show in SAC, and then he was competing in San Jose as well, but just on the pro level. So I met him, took a picture with him. I'm gonna have to send that to you. You'll laugh. It was 4 years ago, and we both
Man.
look totally different. And I remember Ant Woods won that show, and I was in the back, and they was like, "Are you a pro? You going on the pro stage, right?" I'm like, "No, I'm an amateur." And then I overall. So, but the first guy that I met in the pro league in men's physique that I had a conversation with was Jason Lee and Sack, but in San Jose it was Medi, that owns all the, the Max Muscles, and yeah,
Hey,
that's my dude, a real good dude, man.
that's what's
24/7, that
up.
dude. It ain't even prep for him. It's just a lifestyle. So he spoke some words to me that day, and he was like, "Yeah, I got a few guys going to get their pro cards," and he was looking at me, he was like, "Yeah, I think you can get your pro card in 2 weeks at USA." He was telling me, and that was in 2019. But I went on to get
Hey,
mine the following year.
if anybody know, he know because he gets pilled, bro.
Yeah, real good
Which is
dude. We still stay
crazy.
in touch.
Yeah,
He's mindset. Tell people
yeah.
environment, mindset, discipline.
That's just
Levels.
where it's at, man. So, question: before even going to USA's, did you know this is something you could turn pro in, and was that even something you was shooting for?
At the time, every show was like a one-step goal.
Okay.
But my coach was like, "Shit, we should go to." It was I competed in March, and then I competed in June. And my coach was like, "You should go to nationals in 2 weeks." But at that time, I was at a different place in my life. I was a little bit younger. I'm renting an apartment. Fast forward to now, I own a house. So like, there's growth and levels. Been at my company almost 10 years. So I at that time, mentally and maturity, I'm like thinking like, dang, like it's kind of expensive. Like it wasn't even really expensive like that. I'm on the regional level. I'm like, now it's a whole different ball game. So we sat down, and for me too, in my head, I was like, I don't want to be a first call out guy. So I'm one of them dudes where I'm like, if I was to step on right now, would I dominate? That's my mindset at each level. Will they pull me out? So I was like, I'm at the cusp. In my mind, I'm judging myself, but I'm like, I don't want to fly and do all of this. And then, even though I'm in Cali, USA is next door, in Vegas, but I'm like, let me just take the rest of the year and let's figure it out. I did that, and then COVID hit. So I thought I was gonna go back
Yeah.
on stage in July, bro. But the good thing is, I went through a lot of things in my life in the year 2020. So fitness was like my therapy. It was like my second church after the real church. So I was actually, I think in 2020 I stayed in shape all year. Like that was the one year in my life where I was like, I'm gonna just stay in shape. And even if it was, I was working hard, I was eating healthy. Even if I wasn't getting in all my meals, I was eating the right stuff. And I
Yes.
wasn't, doing the extracurricular, the recreational stuff. So that was actually a real focused year. And I pulled the trigger in August of 2020, and I did USA's in December 2020. They actually merged
Right.
it with Masters USA's, and they moved it to Arizona. And so I flew out to Arizona, got a rental car, and then the rest is history. We got our pro card there in Class H with the tall guys. So
Man,
that
I
was a fun
remember that
experience.
year, man. That year, because I was staying in shape that whole year too. So the initial plan for me was to go to USA's, and then they
Right,
moved
right.
it because remember, like you said, it was supposed to be in July. And I was like, dude,
Yes.
I'm like, with COVID, I'm like so tired of being in prep and all these shows keep getting moved back. So I was
Yep.
like, whatever. And then North America's was right after. I was like, man, forget it. I'm gonna go. So I ended up
Right.
going. I placed fifth, and then a month later was Team Universe because they
Right.
had moved that back, but they had moved it to South Carolina. So I
Right.
went out there, missed my pro card by 1 point.
Ooh.
Now USA's, they had moved it to December, like you said, and it was close. And I was like, but I was so like messed up mentally, bro, like missing my pro card by 1 point and
Right.
just kind of going through this whole thing. Like, man, all these shows getting pushed back. And when you don't have that self-control after show, you
Yeah.
just binge.
Yeah. It's not
So
it. Yeah. It's a progression. We'll
I
talk
put
about that too.
on, yeah, I put on 25 pounds, bro, in like, I want to say a week.
Right. Right. Right.
It just being upset and just all into my feelings about it. And I almost thought like I blew away an opportunity. Like, dang, USA's is right here in my backyard. Like, I should just go. But
Right.
I mean, eventually I turned pro. But like, again, like you said, like the mindset at that
Yep.
time, like I wasn't in a healthy state of mind to kind of even
Yeah.
go through that.
Yeah.
So when you're going through like all these things that you went through in 2019, going into 20, and then COVID and all this other stuff, like what is your mindset? Like, how are you staying motivated to kind of push through? Because you said you stayed in shape all year.
So, well, the thing was, like, for me personally, I was going through certain trials and errors in my life. So, for me, I was really busy in 2020. So, 2019, when I first started competing, those 2 years, I stayed in shape. I didn't get over 20 pounds outside of my stage weight, which that's close. That's easy. Like as far as prep, oh, you can sit on 20. That's what a coach probably want most guys. 15 to 20, cool. We don't got a bunch to work and rip, and we don't got to play with diets. But
Exactly.
so I was close. And what people don't understand is like with fitness and even bodybuilding, I feel like your support and the people around you is really gonna mold and shape everything. So for me at the time, my coach was like, it's 2020, but it shut stuff down. But we had that week. It was like around St. Patrick's Day. We had like this week where it was starting to shut everything down. So there's a city next door named Lodi. I had one gym called Fitness Systems where I bought the pass. I was training there for the rest of the year, about 9-month period, 10-month period. And then it was at my coach's gym. So I was back and forth between cities. And then I had a couple buddies. We'd get together and they had garage gyms. So literally we had this system where we were still training 6 or 7 days a week. And I wasn't actually on prep, but when you're with your guys and it's like this environment where everybody's serious and working out, bro, I mean, we're just working out. I'm probably not even eating 6 meals. I'm probably eating like 4, but it's all healthy. You know what I mean? I have occasional tacos, occasional burritos, we're in California. So, but a burger here and there, but mostly I lived that year. I lived on ground chicken, ground turkey, and rice. You know what I mean? And if I really was on the road, like during work, commuting or whatever, it was like, we're going to do something where it's like El Pollo or Chipotle, where it's not the best, but it's definitely not the worst. You know what I'm saying? Because, all those oils and stuff. So, and we just grinded, bro. Like I was still doing cardio. Like I was putting myself on the treadmill 45 per hour. Because for me, the things that I was going through that year in my personal life, it helped me. It helped you could say stress, cortisol. It helped my mental. And it was just like therapy to just keep going. And I didn't even see, the thing was USA's had got canceled in July, but I wasn't prepping. In my head, I was like, well, shit, I'm not going. I got some stuff going on I need to figure out first. I was thinking about doing Miami Nationals. I think it was in Orlando. I started looking up everything, and I was like, damn, this is expensive. I feel like I'm doing a pro show. So they had moved USA's, and then I hopped on prep in, was it the end of August? September, October, November, December. I think I hopped on prep like, it might have been the start of August, September, October, November. Yeah, so I probably did. Yeah, I couldn't have did more than a 16-week prep. And I actually went through adversity then. Everybody talks about prep stories. I got in a car accident. And I was probably one car totaled. Some dude ran the intersection and my car was totaled. My son was in the back seat too. And I had 2 cars trailing me. That was my group. And thank God that nobody got hurt. But I want to say 2 months before the comp, maybe 10 weeks out, I got in a car accident. So, but, and then it worked out. So I don't know how I really stayed in shape that year, bro. It was just, I think it was what I was going through. Because what people got to understand, when you go through things, you either going to fold or you're going to keep going. And I just kept going. I didn't let all like the little personal stuff. Yeah, of course, we go through little emotions. We go through, but you wake up, you say your prayer, you got to keep going. Got to still put food on the table. I got 2 sons. I got to do what I got to do. So that was like, that's where the dad in me kicked in. Because, my dad raised me for most of my life. And that's where the father kicked in. And I was like, I got to switch gears. And so I stayed locked in, hopped on prep. We decided to pull the trigger on USA's. And then we flew out to Arizona. And my goal was just a pro card. So how I felt at that time was like, I'm a pro card. Like in my head, I'm like, well, shoot, I got first here. I overall here. I took the time. I didn't rush the same year and go. I was like, I'm going here to get a pro card. My goal wasn't to overall. My goal wasn't to be a Mr. USA's. I was like, if I do, cool. Everybody shoots to win. Nationals always has that element of the win is in your class. The overall, that's a whole nother extra thing. So I tell people, don't get too high, get too low. My boy just went pro last week. He's like, damn, and give me a look in the overalls. I'm like, it's literally numbers. They probably already had it picked at prejudging, just as they had your classes picked at prejudging. So that's game. I try to tell everybody in most competitions, it's prejudging until you get to the pro level. If it's a real tight race in the first calls, they might move something. There might be some movement, but whatever you really stand at in prejudging, most of us know it's pretty much over with. So
yes.
yeah.
I just went through that literally yesterday with one of my athletes at the Fit Expo. So, but yeah, man, that's kind of crazy. Like when you talk about adversity and how like you don't fold, because life doesn't stop for nobody.
No,
It never does. I don't care. And it's the irony in that is like you're in bodybuilding and you want to just have like this perfect like trajectory to get to where you're going, right? Like, okay, but you're going to go through probably the most adversity you've probably ever been in a prep, just because like nothing's perfect. And then anything, any little thing could throw you off. Anything could shoot up your cortisol levels. Anything can mess with your mental state. Like anything could like just mess you up, period. But where do you find the balance in that? Knowing that, like, because you still have life to deal with, like you have your kids and you work, and even just those things, not to say like your kid's going to throw you off, but that takes priority more than anything.
Absolutely.
So like, where do you find your balance at? Like, how do you find it?
Well, at the end of the day, how I see it is no matter what, they're like you just said it, their priority number one. So like my day-to-day structure, whether I'm on prep or not, I have to see what's going on and know what's going on. We're blessed to have like, they got grandparents in the mix, so you got your kids got to go to school, you got to go to work. We got to fit in cardio in the morning. I got Pelotons in my garage. I'm like, I'm not going to the gym for that, but I'll go to the gym to train, right? So it's all for me. It's all about time management. So when I make a purchase or make an investment, it has to basically be based off time management and something that's going to help me in the long run. So I take them to school. And then my dad, he picked them up because I commute. So we have our system. So they're priority number one, and I make sure they got it, whatever they need. They do play sports. People think like, because you're bodybuilding or because you're an athlete or because you have a busy career. No, the life don't stop. Like you said earlier, it don't stop for your children either. You still have to be there for them. So I got my youngest, he just started AAU basketball. He's super athletic and turned up. And then my oldest plays football. So I got a 8-year-old going into third grade, and I got a 13-year-old going into 8th grade. And my 13-year-old is actually in his 8th season. I think his 7th of 8 years. And the only reason why it's not 8th grade is because COVID year. So that dude, man, that dude is a monster. People see my son and they like, I took him, my boys seen him in Reno, and they was like, he's like 5'8", 200 plus. Crazy, dude's like, man. And he just turned 13. So that's fun. They're a priority. And I try to make sure that they know what it is to be structured and have a goal, whatever it is, and know that it actually takes work. And if you work hard enough, long enough, you'll reap some benefits. And then just like have fun, be competitive, because there's things in sports, there's things that sports is going to teach you in high school that's going to put you in front of a lot of people because they didn't get that team environment or they didn't get that competitive nature, because you got to go out there in the world and get a job. There's all these little different things you're going to have to do. And it's the same type of narrative. Like it's the same situation. You're going to have to be competitive when you go into the job market, how you speak, how you look, how you present yourself. So people can feel your vibe and your energy only when they talk to you and see you, and they know pretty quickly. And like we do, we'll judge if we talk to a person a couple minutes, you kind of know like, yeah, that's not my type of person. But I'll deal with them from a distance because I got love for people. So so that don't stop. So the kids thing and home, that's very important. Then you got, your significant other. You have to give them energy. That's part of your support system. I don't care what nobody says. And what we do, you're as good as your support system. So when you see these, you have, I kind of call them, what you have are, you have athletes. You have the athletes that are on the rise. You have the exceptional athletes, and then you have the, what I call is the top tier world class athlete, because they're consistent. It's not just the it's not just the accolades, it's the consistency. Yeah, they may be in our first call, but you got to understand there's a difference between me and this guy, and it's their consistency. That's very important. So yeah, man, that's how I see it as far as the kids, their priority, and that don't stop. Everybody has to be involved with your prep. You have to make it to where, like, for me, so I have my son, if I do an outside workout, come chop it up with me or come do my video. And he'll tell me like, oh, the lighting's not good. So I'll try to involve him. My young son, he'll try to pose. It's heck of funny. Try to do a men's physique, mandatory poses, whatever. And then, wifey, she makes the food for the most part, but I'll help her. There's things that I prep out, help. She does like my proteins, but we'll make it fun because she likes to eat healthy through the week. She has a trainer.
Okay.
And what I like to do is bring a speaker in the kitchen and let's play some music. You know what I mean? So just the little things. It's just like a mindset. Yes, you're hungry at times, but I think the kicker with hunger sometimes is also rest. And that's another factor in anyone's prep. If they're not getting that, if you're not doing the basic fundamentals, it's going to throw everything off. Like even training at the same time every day, like there's little detailed stuff that just shifts things. But yeah, it's very important to be engaged. And for me, it's who's in my household. You know what I mean? After that, everybody, I kind of take a step back. But I got both of my parents out here in different parts of the city. And after that, I'm like, y'all can hit me up, give me a call, but y'all ain't gonna see me for a minute. Unless you see me on accident in a grocery store or a gym.
Good, man. That's good.
So,
like that balance is key, and can continuously create that, man, because I struggled with that. Like I struggle with it even a little bit now, but I was horrendous. Like just it was just all bodybuilding. And then my wife had to like kind of pull me to the side, like, look,
you gotta take a step back for a minute.
Figure this out. Like,
yeah.
So, and then even more so going into like my pro debut again, like me putting that pressure on myself to like, man, I gotta do good
to be great.
One. Like I have to. And she was right there by my side. But then it's like my daughter's birthday. Like I didn't sacrifice her birthday. I made sure like we celebrated it and did what we did. But again, like that balance is very hard to find, and you have to have those supporting cast behind you, in front of you, next to you, all around you, to make sure you pushing through. But
because you already making sacrifices for sure. You got to do that. Yeah,
that's the name of the game. Like you're sacrificing something, so like you got to figure that out. But like speaking of like the pro debut, like we had the same pro debut. Talk about what was your thoughts going into it? What was your thoughts after it? Because again, like you've won everything up until this point.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, so. The mindset was, so I'm one of those guys, I prep, I take a year. Because in my head, in my mindset, I'm like, I'm not ready for the level where I'm going. I'm not ready to dominate in the level that I'm going. And everybody want everything fast. So I was like, I'm going to do it different. So regional, boom, took the year, took the time, boom, grew, got better, polished. Nationals, went up against probably 25 to 30 guys, class A's, boom, first place pro card. Overall was a bonus, went up. Jonas is Jonas, like dark sport, zero gravity. That's my boy. He's been grinding way more years. These dudes are older than me. He got us in a very tight race. He got first in the overall. He got the overall, and then it was Alex Rogers. You might know who he is. He got second. I got third. Gidju got fourth. I thought my national level overall guys, the guys who went pro in first place, and even some in the second that y'all gonna see here coming to. I thought we had a pretty good USA class that year because these dudes are running. And so in my mindset, I was like, okay, I did good. It's 175 guys. I beat my class at pro debut. At nationals, and I lost, to two people in the overall. So in my head, I'm like, okay, so what are we going to change from then till we go to the pro stage? So I got the pro card. I was content. 2021, I took my foot off the gas from like March, April to like October. I did a lean bulk in October, January, and then February I kind of was like, what do I want to do? Do I want to prep? Do I not want to prep? I said, no, it's 2022. We got to step on. So March hit, 2022, got back with my coach, my trainer. We start training and getting in shape again, getting the muscle activity, getting everything to respond. Like not even doing nothing crazy on that side. as far as like compounds go. And then we started to spicing things up. And then I said, you know what? I want to prep. We got to June. I think I started prep. No, May. I started prep the last week of May in 2022. And I prepped. I think I was on prep for about 22 weeks, maybe about 5 months and a half. But I started prep like up. Like right now I'm up. But my body composition now is better than it was then when I was up. So I recognize that my body fat's lower now. You know, like people got to understand their in bodies. They got to understand their stats. So my body fat is lower now, but my weight is where it is. So then I was like, damn, I got a little bit of a fight. And people know when you don't have structure through the year or do a lean bulk where you're starting to cut it off or get organized, your body's going to get used to things. And so I had to work hard. I prepped all the way till September, and my mindset for the pro debut was I just want to do good. I'm not coming out here to win. I want to get in the first call outs. But I was seeing myself leading up to that show, and I just kept saying, like, fuck, man. And I was thinking about some things that I did in nationals. I was like, man, I'm going to have to change something. Like, I'm not where I need to be. You know, I'm 4 weeks out. I got, you know, I posed with this dude, and I'm looking at myself, and I'm like, dang, like, I'm changing slow. So I got to peak week, and I was looking good. I was like, okay, I feel good. I started to do the carb up process, the depletion, the water load, the water cut process. Got to San Diego like that Thursday morning. We go on Saturday. And we had to sit in a hotel. It was an hour flight, right? We in Cali. So people talk about holding water. That's when you fly far, right? In my opinion, like you ain't hell no. Nothing changed. That little baby flight. They talking about if you fly from Cali to Florida, dude, like not when you go to the next state. Like go kick your feet up. If you got to, go hit the treadmill for 30, it'll change the game. So I didn't make any adjustments. I didn't feel like I was at my best or tight enough. And it was just more time, but I probably could have tweaked some things early on. But because I hadn't been on stage since 2020 up until September 20, that's a whole 18, 19 month gap, 20 month gap. Man. So I there was no blame. It wasn't it's my coaches, it's me. It was just, I needed more time. So because we had already paid for everything, I did the show. Man, boy. And then I knew too, because when like posing is real. This is probably one prep where I was so dialed on the training and bringing my body where it needed to be. My posing, I actually wasn't super polished. Like I usually am, but like I was off and we had bad days and I was just like, damn, I wasn't confident. I'm trying to change things. I got this posing coach. I got conflicting. And I remember my coach, he was just telling me like, man, do you go with what you know? You know how to pose. You got this attitude. Like my coach, you know, love him to death. Obviously, I'm pivoting and making decisions for me in this career. But the guy that brought me into this bodybuilding world, you know, this brother, he's a pro. He's like, man, do your shit. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, pose how you know how to pose with confidence and do what got you here. People always say stuff like, don't do the Superman pose and things like that. I've done it in every freaking show I've ever done. Tyler was cool with it, so you got all these dudes on the internet.
Clearly, you got your pro card from it. So
right. Some people could pull certain things off, and I agree with that. But like for me, it's like until a judge says don't do that anymore because they're on the panel, then I won't do that anymore. So wasn't confident in my posing, but I just wasn't off. I wasn't crispy, and we carved up. And I wish I wouldn't have carved up so hard. I wish I would have got off the plane and just did cardio, killed myself, and kept it light, and things would have been a little different. And man, at prejudging, I just was off. The food didn't break down like it should have. I just wasn't like myself. My pump up was cool. I start to come alive. And prejudging didn't go well. I came out there and, you know, muscle contest, it was bright as shit at that show. Like, it's bright.
Yeah, that's like my home stage. It's open as hell.
It's open. You feel like you're like outdoor at a little concert with a little thing over it. Well, it feel like you're in the backyard of Perugula or something. But it just didn't go well, man. They called us out, compared us. We did our routines, didn't like my routine, didn't like my confidence. Didn't feel like I was hitting. Actually looked way better the day before. I was more tight, more peeled. So I wish I would have been able to gauge that, but and make changes. But like I said, we're the athletes. And then I did the comparisons, and then they start calling people out. Man, that's why when you said like you placed over me, no, bro, I got a dead last. I got a DFL. We call them dead fucking last. So yeah, man, there was like 6 call outs. There was ex-Olympians in the 6 call outs at San Diego. So everybody was already tripping. Big Steve was on the judging panel. It was like, Big Steve, he's here. We didn't know he was going to be here.
Yeah, he popped up, didn't he?
Yep. And then the Gendis was on the panel. So we went through. They didn't call me out. They called out first 6. Boom. GB and all the vets. Fedimo and these guys. Some of the veterans that have been doing it. And actually, Witherspoon won that show. I see you do the podcast with him, and just seasoned. And like when I seen him, it's funny because at every show I see one guy, and I'm like, he got it. And at that show, it was Witherspoon. It was at prejudging, and I seen him. I said, that motherfucker complete. Ain't never seen him a day in my life. Don't know him like that, but I feel like I got that eye. Like what nobody like complete. Like he was just complete, and he's not the tallest guy. And so they called us out.
Not the biggest either.
Not the biggest either at all. So we got people out there understand it's a lot that goes into it. So they pull out the first call, second call outs, pull out the third. I'm thinking like, okay, at least fuck him. Am I gonna get 15? So I'm fighting in the 3 with 2 other guys, and I think it was like Jarrell, I don't know who he's coaching with, light-skinned tall brother, and Tyler James. And then I finally, like they moved me and Tyler and put Jarrell, and I'm just like, man, in my head and my heart, I'm like, yeah, I probably shouldn't be dead last, but I'm in the 4th call out of the 6th call out. So prejudging, I left. I was like, fuck. Instead of me being mad, I was irritated for all about 5 or 10 minutes. We left. I said, man, let's fucking go eat. Took a Uber, man. We got on some scooters. We went to some chicken place out there, dude. It was fire. Forgot the name of it. Took 2, between me and you, drank a Diet Coke, took 2 shots of vodka, came back at night. I seen every gill on the side of my ass. So I actually looked different when we came back for finals, bro. Eating dirty and just my body responded like crazy. I needed it like bad. And I think what it was some of it was timing too. I think I could have probably squeezed into the second call out, but I knew my best, and I wasn't, as far as my best condition, I wasn't really ready. So the mindset there was after I took that loss, went back home and said, man, we got to change something. So I just basically I'm one of them dudes, like I'll buy shoes and shit every now and again on that. Started deleting apps, started getting off media, start setting all my alarms. I was like, it's basically work, gym. Babe, if you need anything, let me know. I'm gonna Zell you, or you got it, I got it, whatever, teamwork. At that point, I was making most of my meat on prep, and I just was dialed in within my routine. Bro, I was killing cardio. I said, man, because we was going to Legions now. And I knew like Legions is a bigger show. It's, I had funny story. I watched Legions, and obviously it's a big fitness expo. A lot of people don't know because Sparks is like in Reno, Nevada. Sparks is like a place where they do the gun auctions and stuff. So that's a big facility out there. So I was like, okay, we're gonna go. I went and watched my friend. His lady was a bikini pro. So I watched Ben's physique in 2021. I watched, of course, Tyron. He won that one too.
Oh, of course.
So in 2021, that first call out was like Kyron, Arya, Corey Morris. Yeah. At the time, it was Sirach.
That lineup was
Rodrigue. Yeah. So I got to watch it. That was like my first pro show where I actually was a pro and I actually watched the guys. So it was the Legions, and then there was another one I watched in SAC. That Jason Hoon had won. So those are only 2 shows I had watched that whole year. So I came back next year. I was like, this is a big show. This stage is beautiful. It's lively. It's vibrant. The energy is good. Chris Menz is solid. Tyler and Sandy's on the panel. I've been in front of Sandy for like almost every show except for that one we did. It's out of my career. Most of my shows, Tyler. And so I was like, I gotta kill it. So I went into like you said, it's a mindset, like a Mamba mentality. And I'm a LeBron fan, but I was like, that mindset that this dude got, that's what I was trying to replicate. So I was doing cardio morning and night. Not gonna tell you the numbers. My training was super consistent. My carbohydrates was lower, probably was none. What am I saying? And then we went to Legions, and I got out there a day earlier because my boy Shay and Masters, he was doing the master side. So we got, we at the Airbnb, and we go do his thing, check him in, and I'm already dialed. I'm walking around getting my extra steps. I think I went to Planet Fitness once for did like a 25-minute depletion. And then I just stayed on my meal plan, put my feet up, and my mindset, I was like at peace in my head, because when you know as an athlete, when you know you on, and I kept waking up doing videos, and my mindset was just, I'm at peace, I'm focused, and we just gonna carry this all the way through. Nothing can fuck up my day. That was my mentality. Meeting people and taking pictures. So by the time we get backstage, this is when I knew I was gonna kill that show. So I'm with my OG Shay. He's talking to Breon. We backstage. I see DJ Pierre. I see Chiron. So it's time to pump up. And it's a bunch of other athletes there. So I stay covered up. I'm just chilling. When I'm just slacking, I'm like, well, if it ain't time, I don't want to pump up early, and I don't want my stress levels to shoot up, because then I might catch a pump, and then they tell us we ain't going on, and then I lose it. I ain't got time for that.
Boy, I hate that.
Yeah, because I think it's a lot of it is mental. Some people are like, oh, I go flat, and I was like, well, yeah, your mental is going to control everything else. So I'm sure it'll affect your body. So I started pumping up, man. I finally took my jacket off. Shay was behind me backstage, coaches, all my people in the crowd. I got Breon standing behind me, Kai Spencer next to me, right? They're looking at me as I'm pumping up. Right. And all I hear is Breon said, man, who the fuck is this dude? He's about to give him problems. So when I heard him say that, I was like, oh yeah, it's up. We on now. They don't even know. They don't even know what's about to hit them. Dudes has probably been running shows thinking oh yeah, I'm finna win. I got a chance. Or if not, I'm gonna be compared next to Chiron, and it's gonna be the 1-2. It wasn't even that type of party. I was the interference. I was the disruption. That's why I try to tell guys, you don't know who's coming. Aaron came. Hey, shout out to the Olympia champ. That dude came out of nowhere. I knew who he was though, because I'm from California. He in my area. I knew who he was. I seen that dude compete, man. Shout out to EB, man. I seen that dude compete at Muscle Sport way before they got merged, and that was in Contra Costa when he was with a local guy probably in his area. And I seen that dude turn around in the back. This was before, none of us knew how to pose that good at that time. Man, that dude back was retarded then. He was meant for this. So when guys think man, that dude was meant for this. So now when you get with a guy like Ariel, well, it's like Phil Jackson. Don't be surprised, bro. I'm not betting versus them. You know what I mean? You always got to pick yourself, but guys got to be realistic. So anyways, back to Legends, when I did my routine, I had changed my posing back to things that I were doing when I was younger on the regional level. So I was like, okay, we're going to come out, boom. So there were certain things, shout out to Johnny Sebastian, he posed me. And there were certain things that I kept, boom, came out. I call it, shout out to Nisha, my other nutritionist and coach. She calls it like a Statue of Liberty, right? I always remember her saying that. So you come out, boom, and then you walk up. And I had this energy about me, in my head, I was Phil Heath. Because I remember every time Phil Heath walked out, it was like Mayweather and Tyson and them dudes walking out to a fight. It's that walk. It's that pose and that walk into your pose. And so then I did my routine, came off, and I just had all the pressure just went, and I was just comfortable after that. And so when I went off, everybody was like, damn, this you killed it. They was tripping. Everybody was talking to me. I was just like, damn, I already knew in my head. I already knew I was ill, but I was like, damn, we on a professional level. So I tell people, it's progression, and God's not gonna put you anywhere where you're not supposed to be. He gonna put you there at the time He wants you there. So we did finals, and I already knew in my head. We came back to finals, and I just remember I started pumping up again, and I seen DJ Pierre. Shout out to DJ Pierre, man. That's my guy on the back end. We got history. So he pulled Chiron. They go off to the side. He see me, and he's like, "Oh no!" He grabbed him like, "Oh no!" Like your mom would on a Sunday at church. And they went, and then they came back, and then we all went on stage. And I was just in my head,
you better keep it together.
Hey, in my head, I was like, they're not gonna let me get him. I was like, they're not gonna give it to me, because it's my first successful professional show. So if it's like this, usually you go with who you know. And shout out to Chiron. He's a good dude. We chop it up every now and again. Spoke some positive words to me. But the reality was I'm also realistic. Chiron has more density than me. Dude's been doing it. So his muscle bellies, I got like a fresh look. So his density at his back, I was like, I'm not there yet. Like, I'm just not, it's a little bit more time and a little bit more salt and pepper. And, so I'm like, I'm not really there yet. So I wasn't mad. I lost to him 3-6. We did the comparisons. We had a dope first call out. You probably watched that show. I'm not going to name names, but most of those dudes in that first call out are good people. And I respect those guys, even into the second call out. So it's just a good group of guys. So I'm like, okay, we did that. We already had SF in the mindset, but we were trying to focus on Reno. Like, we already knew we was doing SF the next week.
Right.
Because that's in my backyard. Now, I mean, I done worked in San Jose, right? Because I commute. So I'm like, I got family in San Jose. I'm like, okay, let me hop on this freeway and take this hour drive. Because Reno's just a 2-hour and 10-minute drive. So I'm like, boom, boom. Now I'm going to take half that. We on peak week. So I ate Sunday. Coach was like, I need you to eat. Or no, Sunday was a show. I ate Sunday night because Legions is a Sunday show. So for people doing Legions, I think opens on Sundays every year for men's physique at least.
It is.
And so Monday, I woke up. She was like, I need you to have another big breakfast, and then I need you to hop on plan. She was like, if you feel like you're heavy or something after that meal, I know you got to drive. She was like, you don't have to force it. I told her, I was like, shit, I feel good. I feel like I could keep eating, but I just be eating for fun. So we had the breakfast. I think I was just pushing water, had a shake, and then we went right back in the plan. And I actually like my Legion look better than SF. I was stupid conditioned. Like in real life, like the pictures don't do justice. I don't have the whole 4K stuff. We got some plans next year. They'll see my face more, but I was stupid tight. Like I like surprised myself. I was like, I didn't even know my body could do this shit. You know what I'm saying? Because at Legions, I
was on the live stream, bro. You was hitting. Look.
And the crazy thing, you want to know, we did the same, pancake in the morning, boom. I don't even know what I ate after that. It was all those rice cakes and shit because we knew we was doing the whole show in the morning. And I like it because of time management. Like, we can get out and go do us. But realistically, if you're trying to go to the Olympia or if you're trying to win the show, I don't really like the idea of doing the prejudging and finals all in the morning. Realistically, everybody's going to come back better at night, right? So if it's a close race, I feel like for some people that's major, especially if it's a 1-point split. Because I lost by 3 points to Chiron. So that's a real loss. That's a legitimate loss. So when I went to SF, first call out was very similar to Legions, because you had Ruben, you had me, you had Frankie. I think it ended up playing out as like, it might have been Ishmael and maybe it was Barack. That's how it ended. Shout out to those guys, but all incredible dudes, man. No drama in the industry, just good dudes. But I'm thinking something like that. And there was a couple other names, like Most Shredded was there. Shout out to Most Shredded.
Made the Olympia this year.
So tell people mindset and consistency. So it was a lot of guys. Alex Rogers was there. Kai Spencer was there. It was a lot of guys there. Franklin. I see Mehdi see me. He was like, who's here again? Because that's my guy. So we chopping it up before the show. He's like, I'm so fucking proud of you. He's one of them. Like, he built up your mindset. Good dude. So we get up there, do the routine. I don't tell people this story. Same thing as Legion. Same exact routine. Come out. We're at the Holiday Inn, right?
Yep.
There's this huge light. So you guys are on cameras. We all probably look retarded. Because when you get on that stage, the light is so blinding, like a pulpit light at church. Like, it's just in like, I couldn't even see. Like, I'm walking out there and I'm like, God damn, like, I had to close my eyes. Then I walked up and I'm like, damn. And then you kind of looking in the crowd, but it's so like bright. I was like, this is stupid, until you step to the point where you're at the comparison line. Right. So as you're doing your routine, you kind of get slight moments of where I was blinded. So we do that. And in my head, I'm like, fuck. It was funny because as I drove up to Holiday Inn the first day I got there, the first person I seen in the parking lot was Buhan and Ryan Benson. And I said, in my head, because I'm an observer and I know what's going on. And in my head, I said, I don't know who's on this list, but it's going to be me versus him. We get to athlete check-ins. Buhan's talking to Sandy. His last name is C, mine's H. I'm a few guys later, calls me up. Sandy's like, oh, you're back again. I'm so excited to see you. In my head, I'm like, it's one versus like it's gonna be me versus this dude,
Look,
man.
man.
It was crazy. It was crazy.
I had personally anyway.
Yeah, yeah,
I had you on that, and I thought I was like, man, my man about to go to Olympia.
yeah.
I up and down. I thought
I
you
had the
had
feeling. See, it was different from Legions. I knew I wasn't gonna beat Chiron, right?
look,
Because there's a progression with this sport. Guys go through it where you gotta show up so many times, and the judges have to get to know you, and you have
yeah.
to just keep bringing that heat. And I was like, so we'll talk about what was told to me after, but I did the routine, did the comparisons. We get to finals, and I'm like, fuck, man. Like, here we are again. It's gonna be us two. Got the six. They call them all out.
Mm-hmm.
It's just me and him left. I'm like, now I'm nervous, but they called it faster. They said on it at Legions, even though I knew, but they called it out faster. And as soon as Sandy said something between the lines of it wasn't unanimous, it was something like it's a 1 point split. I knew at that moment when she said that, I was like, there's no need to say that if I was gonna win. I was like, fuck, I'm gonna get second place, and I got second place. So I gave Buhan his props. And there was one thing that I saw from that show. I had the better genetic, right? But that dude's been in it so long, and I knew these dudes was not coming out and winning shows. Guys got to go check how the dude started to now. Like there's a progression, and so when I looked at our comparisons in our battle, he was smart. Every pose I would do, he would do when we was battling. He's smart, but the back, he had more density.
Okay.
So when I looked at that, I said the only thing that I know. Even though I know I was peeled, which now this year conditioning is winning shows, I was like,
crazy how that works, right?
It's timing, bro. And I was just like, he had me in density. And then it was a 1 point split on that show. I think this card said 4 or 5. And so I'm never going to forget that. And, we just going to run it back and do what we got to do. And after that, Sandy runs up to me. I'm like dehydrated. Like this show, because they worked us and it's like, we ain't doing no finals. So I'm like, I'm cotton mouth. And I'm like, I'm getting cotton mouth talking about it. So I'm like, I went to get a Pedialyte or something. I do, everybody's different. But since I started, I kind of like to stick to things that work. So I keep a Pedialyte in my backpack. You come off stage, I'm not about to down it. After the show, I will. But I'm not about to down it in the middle of the show. But if I just need a little ounce or two, boom. And then keep going about my day. So I drink the Pedialyte. And I just had to go sit down. I was in the stage, I had to go in the venue and just sit down for a minute. And she walks up to me. Buhan's right there with Ryan. I'm with my coaches, and they had us checked or whatever. And she's like, "Oh, don't go anywhere. I'm gonna find you." Sandy ran to probably John Thuman and them, grab some whatever it happens, and she came talk to me. I didn't have to chase for the Legions. We walked off. Tyler was right there. You asked him, "What's the feedback?" He gave me one thing: keep showing up. And then she told me what my feedback was, and she gave me one thing, and it was similar to his, and keep showing up. And she actually asked me if I was going to go to muscle contest the next week. And in my heart, a lot of people was even the guys who do the Men's Physique pages, the Men's Physique update, I think it's the African dude, he was like, you were literally one show away. I really think you would have done it that next week.
Man, look.
I had a part of me wanted to do it because it was muscle contest, and I know what happened in September. Now fast forward, we almost 7 weeks later, that much better. But I also knew it wasn't about who was doing the show. It was me thinking of the front runners that are gonna do the show. Am I lacking somewhere where they can get me? And I felt like the density may hold me back because again, I don't want to get into all of my stuff, but I'm a light compound guy. I'm not no dude out here. As far as now, things may change, But as far as now, I was like, I'm not going to get out here and get reckless.
Right.
We're already in season. You're not going to change too much now that we're in the prep. We're not in the bulk. So, I knew Jonas was doing it. That's my guy. We always talk, and I was like, fuck, man. And in my head, I was like, okay. I look at the list, and I was confident and I already beat some of the other guys. At other shows, and I was just thinking man, and Guidry did it, Andre Benson and those guys. Andre had did.
Yeah, I was there. I was there. Anaheim only about an hour for me.
Yeah, Frankie got second. I think that was his best look. He looked fucking dope. His back is dope to me. I don't know what Ariel gives those guys, and then Guidry, my guy, he got third. And I'm always biased, you know. Gidry's my guy. He's gonna kill it this year. I'm praying on him to qualify. But I was thinking like, fuck, man, what would I have set in that top 4? I forgot who was in 4th. And I was thinking to myself, like, realistically, no shade. I'm like, damn, where would I set? You know, what would, because the judging is different too. It wasn't Sandy and Tyler. I don't know if you was there, you know, was it Tamara and TK? Was it the Gindys?
It was Tamer.
See, so
it was Tamer. Mm-hmm.
At Muscle Contest, I was off, but I know Big Steve was there. But I actually went pro in front of Tamer. I went pro in front of those guys. It was Sandy, Tyler, and them at USA. So some people say I won't do this show and do that show. I don't care, dude. If it's closer to me, I'll do it. So I feel like if you're on, you're on. So I don't know how it would have played, but I felt like if Jonas was going to edge me at that moment in life, it was going to be due to density. Because people got to understand, he's been doing it a long time. And when I've seen him and his pictures and his look, I was just like, damn, he works really hard for it. He can gauge when he's not ready. He'll gauge when he's not ready. And he's the type of guy stay on prep. Got a good coach, good team. He's a great, phenomenal coach, trainer, and all that himself. So I was just thinking, like, damn, I don't want to get another third 3 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? And for me, it's the last show it was the last show to qualify, I think, or there might have been one more in Florida after that. I can't remember. It was. At least it was in our area.
I ain't gonna lie, man. You would have been riding that wave, and that what a lot of people think. Jonas just came in and wiped it clean. He didn't. Like
Frankie was on it.
Man, was he? And then Gidry was right there.
So let's talk about that, man. I thought so. I did it when I competed versus Frankie. I don't think he was his best at legions, but I also seen that like this dude's back is just crazy. First of all, so when I seen the comparison photos, it's different when you're competing because you're in your own zone. But when you see the photo, I'm like, and I kept looking at everybody front and back, and I'm like, okay, they say front to back. I could kind of see the package deal, Chiron, me, Ruben, and I look at Frank and I said, this dude's back is retarded. And so, you know, you got to give guys their props. But I think the full complete package is where Frankie didn't quite meet what the judges were looking for. Like if he had the front that Jonas had, you know, things probably could have worked out different. We all got progressions, but that dude's back is something retarded.
Yeah, it was very competitive in the back, and then you know with Frankie, his front pose, his waist is almost non-existent.
Yes,
and so it got to a situation where Tamer just kept saying, "Face the curtains, face the judges, face the curtains," and then eventually, they was up there, bro, for like 10 minutes.
It was a 1-point split, probably. I'm sure.
Yeah, I'm sure it was, but he worked them. And then what I tell people is that if you're being worked, it's close. Someone has to fade, and they're just waiting for somebody to fade, and then that way it helps them make the decision.
And his body expresses Jonas because he was on prep all year.
Yeah, exactly. Jonas was one and done. And then side note, I ran into Jonas in Vegas when we was just out there, bro. And I was at the Torture Gym working out, and he was out there working with Jeremy Buendia. And I'm looking like, if you ever talk to Jonas, sound like there was like this random person. Cause I just had met him that day, like personally. I'm sitting there watching him pose, him and Jeremy Buendia for like 10 minutes. And I was like, I was like, don't mind me. I'm in here just learning. Like that's it. And I'm just sitting there watching. I'm like, bro, this dude is crazy.
Yeah, like, I mean, he you know, people say guys can move out of divisions, and I always say take that with a grain of salt, boy. It's gonna take some time for you to close that gap, and that's what people got to understand. And I guess there's a couple like Logan Franklin. There's progressions, but you know, I see guys like Matt Grego. Shout out to him. He just won a show, and Tommy Clark. Those guys are fit for that. But you got to remember, everybody don't got them wheels and don't got everything to just be bouncing around classes with them different weight caps for height. They just gave them more weight with rule changes. People just be talking on the internet, and I just be like, so you can't get too high or too low. And that's the good part about not being like super out there at this point is like, I don't have to deal with that yet. But man, dude, like people just say stuff, and I'm just like, dude, you guys have no idea. Like, I don't know.
Well, your time's coming, man. Just hearing your story bouncing from, you know, your comeback from the Tournament of Champions and going into, you know, the Legions and the SAC Pro, and, you know, being so close, man, that speaks to your resiliency. And
Yep.
that's one of the things you really have to have in this sport, because you take a look at it when you're at the Tournament of Champions in San Diego. You said you felt it like you weren't your best, you didn't pose your
Oh, I
best.
knew.
And then that's also one of those things where, like, what a lot of people don't know is, like, yeah, we look good, but we also deal with body images too, bro.
Dysmorphia, yeah.
Like we deal with that all the time. So imagine that, not looking your best and knowing you don't look your best, and then you have to be subjectively judged by this
Yeah.
panel for them just to tell you, like, nah, you didn't look your best. Like, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So to bounce back from that and just go into like this huge like tunnel vision where you play second to Chiron and you talk about his dance. I swear, like, every time I see him in person, I'm like, dude, you're getting huge and huge and
Yeah.
huge and huge. Like,
I mean, I knew I had him like waist and like conditioning, but that dude's muscle, like, it's crazy. Even like it was so when I left Legions, my fucking DM. So I was like, this is what guys experience. My DM exploded. And I was like, dude, I got like 200-300 messages. What's going on? And Banks had put some words in there. And I can't really say what people say because we're in a league where if you say something and somebody see it, but I appreciated his words, and it was like, damn, I had to do SF, but we already had it on the plate. But it's just progression, man, and enjoying the stage of where you're at. That's what guys got to understand. Like, they think like Jonas woke up and just got on dark sport. This dude has been grinding since probably years before I have. He's probably been in this thing close to a decade. So guys don't just wake up. And he probably did get the edge too because he won Mr. USA's. But guys are phenomenal athletes, and the work that they're putting in, and the work that you're putting in over here, and the work that he's putting, everybody's working at a high level. That's why it's important to get to a place where you're so serious about if this is what you want to do, especially after you become a pro. It's like it's a reset button every year, every level. Regionals, it's a reset button. Nationals, it's a reset button. I'm a pro now. It's another reset button. And I'm a pro now at the cusp. Best believe when you qualify for Olympia, it's a reset level. So every level, it's like my career I'm in. I tell people all the time, like, as a supervisor, thank God for me being the right-hand man of my managers, I'm able to train people, teach people, but identify what can help people. And like, I'm on the phone with my manager since day. I'm almost 10 years in my career. I take note. I'm a note taker. You think I'm gonna hold all that in here? I'm gonna go back, look at this video, and probably take notes just because. But that's just how I am. So with coaches, I do the same thing. I have to have my notes, and I'm also a guy that if I have access to you, cool. But I don't need to bug my coach all the time. They got lives and families and stuff. All I need to do is follow direction. When it comes time to be my time, have a couple set keynotes each week, and if I got questions, ask them. Because those things can make a difference. So. Yeah, man, I'm excited for the future, bro. I am going to be on that stage, God willing, in 2024, as long as there's no health issues. I've never had any, but I'm excited, and I'm gonna do some shows that I haven't did and fly a little further, and so I'm just praying for a great experience, man. And we're actually gonna step into a phase of prep coming here shortly, so it's not gonna be no short prep. I'm really gonna work my ass off for this one. You know what I mean? We work our ass off for all of them, right? But this shit's crazy, but that's something. It's a fulfilling thing. It's like, and you learn a lot about yourself in the journey, and it applies to every area of life. But once you step on that stage, it's like a guy in the NBA in the playoffs. Like, you can't really compare. NFL. You can't really compare that feeling unless you've experienced it yourself. So that's why we keep doing it. And that's why we want to see other people do it. So,
yeah, speaking of that, what would be some words of encouragement or even advice to maybe someone who just turned pro, or even some of the amateurs? Like, your boy turned pro pretty much last week. He was lights out.
Shout out to Vincent Bell.
Yeah, my dog. Man, he look. I was talking about him the week before he showed up. And I was like, y'all better watch out for this dude. But words of encouragement, advice to him, or even some of the amateurs coming up, as far as like what to look out for, how to, have longevity in the sport. What would you tell them?
I would say that, well, my advice and what to look for is, like, you got to go through it. It's an experience because everybody's experiences are different, and it may not be what you think it is, especially at first. But I don't worry about all the outside stuff. You know what I mean? Small wins is still wins, and it's like take those, but don't hang your hat on them. Always have another goal in mind. You have to give yourself a timeline. No matter if it's short, moderate, or long, you have to tell yourself and game plan and say, okay, by this time I need to be doing this and I need to be here. So in order for me to be here, what should you do? So high level, high experience people in the sport, they know. And I'm gonna just say 2 words: count backwards. And you probably know what I'm talking about. So exactly. Count backwards. So if you know what you're doing and what you're aiming for, you definitely need a support system. That's number one. You need to be in an environment where you can thrive. Because in prep, I always tell people the best people in the world in any facet of life, they know how to operate in chaos. And there's going to be some chaos on prep. I don't think I've met a person or had a conversation about a person's prep going perfect, even if they got to the very end and then everything started to go crazy 2 weeks out of peak week, even though they all still prevailed. Like, so support system, environment, the people that you deal with, be financially smart, forward plan. It's not cheap. The higher you go, the more expensive. Have good credit. People ain't gonna talk to you about that stuff. I'm gonna keep it 100. And then when I say support system, that's heavy. So for example, for me, like I talked about, my significant other earlier, she's the backbone. Without her, there's no me doing this. Cause like, I'm not about to do every single aspect of this by myself. I don't have sponsors today. And even if I did, like I eat a way where it's like, damn, what's in it? Like, even if I was getting like, who made it? How long has it been sitting? What's the life like? So I'm very meticulous. And it's like, yeah, may take away from some of it, but I think that you have a much better prep with the less, like with just being simple, because your body is primed and you're putting less and you're putting exactly what you need. So I like the detailed and the meticulous people, because I feel like they're the ones that have those type of coaches and things that go a little further. But support is huge. And then make sure your household is right. Like, you don't go out here in public and give everybody a good version of you and then have a shit version at home. This is not going to work. You're going to crash and burn. So
talk about it.
Yeah. You got to make sure she good. You having a bad day, go in the room, go to the gym, go outside. Because 9 times out of 10, it's a mindset. So once you breathe, have a moment, let it go. Or if you can't get rid of it, go do a workout, because that's gonna make it go, because then you're gonna be tired after. So, but yeah, so that's a big thing to you. And shout out to her, man, because without her, it just really wouldn't. The pieces to a puzzle, they just wouldn't fit. She does so much. She's such a pivotal part in every prep that I ever had. And yeah, I just appreciate her. So when I'm up, I make sure I take care of her. And then my boys, my oldest, he's such a Gemini. This dude helps me, he helps me with everything. So when I'm on prep and I'm feeling low, like, Dad, you need anything? You want me to throw your Epsom salt in the bath, or do you want me to? So those little things, like I could be out here on the thing. And he's like, I'm like, yeah, son, give me right. And then I go in and I'm just boom, I ain't waiting. Because time management too. That's huge. Yes. That's another one. Time management. So if you're getting into bodybuilding, the number one aspect is support system, environment, and make sure you hire a coach, and take notes, and don't try to think that you're about to do everything that these guys have been doing in a couple of years in one day. You can date back to any of the champions of the sport. I think there's 6 of them in men's physique now, and I can speak to some of them. When you look at their route, man, these dudes grinded to get to where they're at. This sport's been around for 10 years. The one that's moved through it the fastest to progress to his championship reign was Aaron Banks, and even then, he started in 2019 like me. So
and people got to understand, man, he has an athletic background. Like, that helps.
That's a game changer.
And he has damn near the best coach in the game right now. So like, there's a lot of variables that go into his timeline that people don't even like care to pay attention to.
And it just matches sports discipline. Like, and then even the things he did in fashion, the dude was talking about, like, I used to drive here to LA. And like, so people think like, this dude, he's built on, he don't need to sleep. He can push his body. This dude's always on his feet. So there's certain things with like that make sense to why, like, there's a dog in that person. They have that mentality. Like when Kobe was like, train 4 times a day, like basketball 4 times a day. I'm like, there's 24 hours a day. Is this much sleep? Like, how much fucking, that's all he doing. He hoop, He go home, he eat, he rest, he hoop, he go home, he eat,
That's
and
it,
then he
bro.
make
He
sure
ain't
his
worried
family
about nothing
stays.
else.
So, and that's why he,
Mm-hmm.
his goal was 8, but he got 5.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
like,
he got
people gotta
close. He got
understand.
close.
Yeah.
So what going into next year, and even further than that, is there like if you can name one show that you would love to compete in or even win, like what would that one show be?
That's easy. That's Pittsburgh Pro. That's easy. That's
I
easy.
hear you. I hear
That's the
you.
one. That's the one.
That's the
Because you know
one.
what it is for me? When we watch this game, we know it's all about the Olympia, and then we know there's
Uh-huh.
Arnold, right? So like Olympia is like its own thing to me, and Arnold's like its own thing to me. We used to
Me
watch Kai
too.
Green win the Arnold all the time
Mm-hmm.
when the Olympia would be filled. You know what I'm saying? So
Mm-hmm.
and that's just the newer open body. That was the last phase or era.
Right.
Now we in this newer
Mm-hmm.
era. Eras ago it was different, but before I even knew what these divisions was. Like we talking Ronnie Coleman and whatnot, but um, it's definitely Pittsburgh. And the reason why it's Pittsburgh because we know that outside of Arnold, Pittsburgh and New York are like the highest tier shows per se.
Mm-hmm.
New York Pro never really like made me go, wow, like I want to go spend hella money, fly to New York. Shout out to those guys. Like New York's dope, but like I never wanted to like go to New York and compete. That didn't sound like for me and for what I'm trying to do. Now, will I ever do New York? It's a possibility, but my goal is the show that I would like to do and be very competitive in would be Pittsburgh Pro. So that's definitely the goal. But I would definitely do shows around that too. It'd be prior and post, you know what I mean? Because I want people to be able to see me a little bit more, and that's just to try to just make a name to where it's like the judges know who you are more so, like all of them, and then just see what they think and just leave the rest in God's hands. But Pittsburgh, that'd be the one for any show.
I hear you. Sound like me a little bit. I hear you.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Yeah, that's a good question though.
Man, and then last
What's
but
your
not least,
what's yours?
Mine.
What's yours?
I have a couple, man. I'm not gonna lie, and it has like sentimental value to it. Pittsburgh is one for sure. Contrary to you, New York is one for me. One, because I haven't been there.
Respect.
So I haven't been there, so I would love to do that. And then another one for me is the Tampa Pro, man.
Right.
Like, I just feel like whenever I see videos and pictures, like I'm big on aesthetics, like just how things look. And I just feel like that show like has a level of like brightness and
they call it the Big Apple. Is that New York?
Nah, Tampa Pro is in Florida.
No, I know Tampa, but New York, they call it the Big Apple.
Yeah, but the funny thing is it's in New Jersey.
Okay. Yeah.
So
yeah, they like this next door.
Is like, but I mean it's right next door to each other.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's one. But even
I like Florida. I've been to Florida twice. So yeah, I done had some good vacations earlier in my life. I like Florida. There's one thing when it get hot, it's humid and it's sticky. You gotta take a bunch of showers every day.
Like that. My weird stuff. Look, I like stuff like that. And I used to go to Miami all the time, with my brother and my cousin. We used to.
I can't wait to go there.
Man, look. So, but the Tampa Pro, like, I just like everything that about
they run a good show.
Just passed. I've heard that too, and I just feel like it's so prestigious.
I paid for it live. I paid for the show last year, and I seen it, and that shit was dope. You can even see the stage. Like we're looking at it through the internet lens. You see some shows, and so if I had to compare the two this weekend, right? Tampa and Phoenix. Tampa blew Phoenix out the water production wise. So,
man, that's the thing. Like I just look at it like, man, that production looks crazy, bro. Yeah. Like it really does. So Tampa for sure. New York and Pittsburgh, definitely on the list.
I expect that.
And then we'll see how it goes though. Like me and you we gonna end up seeing each other a lot. So
yeah, for sure. And either way, like we gonna see each other because like my boy that just turned pro from our city, like we got each other's back. So I'm sure there'll be a time where like if he does a show or my OGs and Masters does a show in SoCal or something or wherever, like we gonna see each other. That's just how it goes. I actually want revenge in Muscle Cup. That's not gonna sit here and act like I don't. What? So that Muscle Contest is on my list to do a SoCal show next year. And so and the goal is to when I get there to just coming stupid crazy. Like that
Yep.
could end up being the first show. Who knows? But it could not. It could be the last show in my year before whatever happens. But
But
I feel
you
like
got to get that back, though. You got to get that
anywhere
back.
you lose, you got to get your lick back. That's just me.
Yep.
Like I feel like if you take that loss, like as a man, we not children, we not kids. Like you got to get your lick back. So I
You
was thinking
gotta
in my
see
head,
me. You gotta see
yeah,
me again. Yep,
oh
we on the
yeah,
same page with that one.
yeah.
Man. And then last but not least, male and female, who
Ooh,
would you like to see on this show to kind of promote what it is that we're talking about as far as the mental health in the sport and this stuff that we go through?
ooh, male and female. Dang. All right, BB pros.
They can be amateurs, just as long as you're responsible for reaching out to them and getting
Okay.
them
Oh,
connected
that's
to
easy
you.
then. Well, that's
Yeah.
easy then. I mean, shit. That's easier. If I say male, because my boy just went pro last week, I say Vinny, my boy Vincent Bell.
Yeah.
He's with Johnny Sebastian, and
Okay.
those guys had cooked up something. They did it the right way, right? Sound like fucking the NBA. Like guys that do it the right way, like yeah, they did it the right way. But
Uh-huh.
him, because he's in my backyard, we're both from. He's actually from Sac, but we he claims Stockton because he grew up here more than half his life. But um, that would be a good one on the guy side. You got a fresh USA guy who went pro, and just good conversation because it just happened. You was there, I was there. It was in
Yep.
Vegas, and then shoot, the women is kind of harder because there's people local, but I don't want to like not include somebody, and then
It
so
can
that
be
one,
any category, any category. It don't matter. If you got to do another male, that's fine. I just want to get
okay,
people's attention to this. Just
right,
so again, my whole goal is to like get off talking about macros and compounds and like whatever. Like this is stuff like we
yeah,
go through. Like what
stuff we go
shine
through
through this
life,
show is your resiliency.
right, right,
Like
right. I
you
respect
just
that,
be bouncing back from everything. Like that's what I kept hearing. So and it
right,
just
right,
allows people to tell their story, man. So if it can be another
yeah.
male, that's fine. Who
I
else
mean,
would you
if it
do?
was another male, I'll use somebody on the pro level. There's so many good guys, but there's a few where we conversate every now and again, and it's just love. But I would love to see Josh Gidry get on here. I'm gonna just use him because we've been tapping in lately, and we always check on each other throughout the year. I check on him. Josh be running them shows, man, and I love his mentality because dude is just a freaking worker, but he's also a believer. Like that's something we have in common. Like we believers. We none of us are perfect. You know what I mean? He from the
Mhm.
South, and we from Cali. So there's always gonna be adversity and trials and tribulations. But yeah, Josh Gidry will be a good one on the pro level. Somebody I went pro with, and we always stay connected. And he's a good dude. I got a few more, but I'm gonna just leave it at those two.
I got you. Well,
Yeah,
look,
man.
man, I appreciate the time and the story, man. I can't wait to see you qualify because it's coming. Like
Absolutely, man. I
you're too
appreciate you.
close knocking on that door and
Yeah,
just pretty much, giving me inspiration too, man. Just because again, we all go through ups and downs, but just to
yeah.
kind of hear how you bounce back from a lot of the things that you went through, like that gives me, inspiration as well. Just because sometimes I'll be thinking like, man, I don't know how much longer I'm gonna do this. But when I hear,
Yeah,
people speak and I listen and try to, connect to those words and to your stories. And I was very connected today, man. So I appreciate you for that.
absolutely. I'm gonna say one more thing though. My significant other, she always says this thing to me, and we
Mhm.
talk about it in the form of like when we're gonna make a purchase. It could be little, it could be a substantial purchase, and I think she learned it from I don't know one of her coworkers. Or something. She always says, "Love it or leave it," right? So I actually started applying that. I don't even know if she knows. I started applying that to different areas of life. So with bodybuilding, same thing applies. I had to ask myself, love it or leave it. And I feel like I'm still in a place where I have a love for the sport. And
Mm.
that's kind of and my competitive spirit keeps me wanting to do it a little bit more. So that's just where I'm at. And I just feel like I also haven't even, I feel like I'm scratching the surface of my potential. Like as cliche as that actually sounds. But that's how I'm seeing it. But Yeah, man, love it or leave it. So hopefully, you know, if you feel it in your heart, that's something that you want to keep doing. It's like, yeah, because if you go to sleep and you never do it again, and you like 3 years go by, and you're gonna ask yourself every day for the next 10 years, like I needed to do this more, then you're gonna have this big regret. And so
Facts.
that's why I say,
Mhm.
you know what I'm saying. So that's
I'll be
it.
sure to apply that. It's love right now for sure. Like I
Yeah, you
felt
already
like
know.
being around USA's and all that. So, but
Yeah,
yeah, man,
man.
that's episode 2. Shout out to my man Thrill Will.
Thanks for
See
having me,
y'all
my
on
boy.
3. My
All
guy.
right, brother. In a minute.
Yes, sir.